Eddie Mora is a failed novelist living in a cramped, dirty apartment in Manhattan. He's out of ideas, out of money, and on the verge of losing everything. His relationships are falling apart. Even his girlfriend Lindy has had enough of his lack of progress and breaks up with him. With writer's block and an empty future, Eddie is at rock bottom, a walking disappointment with nothing to lose. One fateful day, Eddie bumps into Vernon, his ex-brother-in-law, who offers him a single, translucent pill called NZT-48. Vernon claims it's a revolutionary nootropic that allows the user to access 100% of their brain instead of the usual fraction. Skeptical but desperate, Eddie swallows the pill. Moments later, the world snaps into sharp focus. The effect is instantaneous and electrifying. Colors brighten, sounds sharpen, and Eddie's mind ignites. He suddenly recalls everything he's ever seen or read with perfect clarity. His lazy charm turns to laser-focused charisma. In a dizzy burst of energy, he cleans his entire trashed apartment in a few hours and pounds out dozens of pages of his novel. Years of unrealized potential are unleashed in one afternoon. The next morning, Eddie finds the magic has faded. The NZT high is gone. But on his desk sit the brilliant pages he wrote overnight, pages so impressive that his publisher is astonished. Eddie is determined to get more. He tracks down Vernon, only to find him embroiled in some shady dealings. Tragically, Vernon is murdered before Eddie's eyes, likely by thugs, panicked but opportunistic. Eddie searches Vernon's apartment and discovers Vernon's secret stash of NZT-48. From this moment, Eddie makes a choice that will change his life forever. With a limitless supply of NZT, Eddie's world transforms. In a montage of rapid brilliance, he finishes his long-stalled novel in just 4 days. Eddie turns his sights to finance, using his enhanced intellect to analyze stock patterns and recall obscure market data. He parlays a few $1,000s into hundreds of thousands. To accelerate his rise, Eddie borrows $100,000 from a Russian loan shark named Gennady and multiplies it on the stock market in mere weeks. In a flash, the nobody writer becomes a Wall Street wizard, earning over $2 million in a month. Eddie's astonishing success draws attention. He reconnects with his astonished girlfriend Lindy. Before long, Eddie is rubbing shoulders with the elite. Land him a meeting with Carl Van Loon, a powerful business tycoon, is skeptical of this upstart genius, but tests Eddie's savvy by involving him in a high-stakes corporate merger deal with another mogul, Hank Atwood. Eddie, supercharged by NZT, confidently provides brilliant insights that impress Van Loon and his boardroom of suits. It appears there's no limit to Eddie's ascent. Eddie begins suffering strange side effects. He experiences moments of disorientation and blackouts, where time skips like a broken film reel, coming to his senses on a city street with no memory of how he got there. A news report soon shocks him. A woman Eddie vaguely remembers meeting during his blackout has turned up murdered. The puzzle pieces aren't connecting in Eddie's scrambled mind. Determined to understand what he's invited into his brain, he digs into Vernon's records and makes a grim discovery. Every past NZT user is either hospitalized or dead. He notices a mysterious man in a tan trench coat shadowing him. Paranoia sets in. Who is this stranger? And is he behind Vernon's murder? Desperate for answers, Eddie tracks down his estranged ex-wife, Melissa, who had disappeared from his life years ago. She herself once used NZT-48 and suffered horrific withdrawals and permanent damage after trying to quit. She warns Eddie that if he doesn't stop, the drug will kill him. At the same time, Eddie's loan shark Gennady comes knocking. Gennady has realized Eddie's secret to success. Gennady confiscates Eddie's stash and without hesitation pops a pill himself. Now Gennady is hooked and much more dangerous. He makes it clear that Eddie is now his captive genius, expected to supply pills on demand. Eddie's life becomes a frantic balancing act. In a moment of crisis, Eddie turns to the one person he trusts, Lindy. He had stashed the remainder of his NZT pills with her for safekeeping. Now Eddie urgently calls Lindy and asks her to retrieve the hidden stash from her apartment. As she does, the ominous man in the trenchcoat starts following her through the city streets. On the phone, Eddie pleads with Lindy to do the unthinkable, take an NZT pill herself. With no other way out, Lindy swallows one. The effect is immediate. Her fear melts into focused cunning. In a clever split-second move, she manages to injure the stalker and escape his grasp. The experience leaves Lindy shaken and breaks off their relationship, surrounded by enemies and dependent on a drug that's destroying him. Knowing he can't quit NZT cold turkey, he hires a team of chemists to reverse engineer the drug and make more. He also hires high-powered attorney Morris Brandt to shield him from the investigations closing in. Vernon's murder, the murdered woman, and other suspicions. His world teeters on collapse. The day of Van Loon's crucial merger arrives, and Eddie is expected to help finalize the mega deal that could make him and Carl Van Loon billions. Hank Atwood, the rival tycoon, suddenly falls into a coma on the eve of the deal. In the chaotic meeting that follows, Eddie recognizes Atwood's chauffeur and nearly goes cold. In that moment, Eddie realizes the truth. Atwood has been on NZT too. Before Eddie can slip away, he's hauled into a police station for questioning. Placed in a lineup for a witness, Eddie is barely holding it together as withdrawal symptoms creep in. His high-powered attorney Brandt shows up to handle the police. But in a treacherous turn, the lawyer steals Eddie's entire supply of NZT right out of his jacket pocket, only to feel a wave of sickness hit. His pills are gone. All his genius gone in an instant. At that worst possible moment, having drained Eddie's last stash days ago. Now, he wants Eddie's secret lab or any remaining pills, and he's willing to cut Eddie open if necessary. A brutal fight erupts in Eddie's apartment. Eddie, weak and cornered, watches Gennady inject himself with a syringe full of NZT-laced blood to amp up his strength. Gennady sneers that he's untouchable, until Eddie grabs a knife in a last, shocking act of survival. Eddie binks the drug-laden blood off the floor. The effect is immediate and explosive. A second wind of clarity and ferocity. Eddie outsmarts and overpowers Gennady's thugs one by one. As sirens wail in the distance, Eddie knows he must cover his tracks. With Hank Atwood now dying in the hospital, the hitman has no reason to kill Eddie. In fact, he hands over something invaluable. Eddie has come a long way from the deadbeat writer he once was. He's also managed to keep his deadly secret hidden from the world. Carl Van Loon, smelling power, can't resist a reunion. Hasn't come just to chit-chat. With a smug smile, he reveals that he also shut down Eddie's makeshift NZT laboratory. Cutting off any new supply, Van Loon believes he has Eddie cornered. He offers Eddie a deal, an endless supply of NZT. With a calm smile, Eddie drops a bombshell. He doesn't need the pills anymore. In the past year, Eddie claims he refined NZT, tapered off it, and somehow retained all of its benefits with none of the side effects. He is permanently enhanced. Van Loon realizes that even if he cut off the drug, Eddie might still outmatch him. He has no leverage here. As Van Loon sputters threats, Eddie strides out to the street, where Lindy waits for him. He's managed to win her back with his genuine change. The waiter approaches, and Eddie cheerfully orders in fluent Mandarin, a final little flourish of genius that leaves Lindy smiling. Limitless asks us to consider, if you could take a shortcut to success, bypass every limitation, would it be worth it in the end? Eddie learns that knowledge is power, but it's how you use it that defines you. In the end, he refuses to be controlled, proving that the most dangerous thing about gaining power is believing you're invincible. Limitless leaves us with a tantalizing question. Now that Eddie Mora has seemingly conquered his limitations, what will he do with a life that is truly limitless?